One day in history, a nation placed its own crown upon the head of a stranger. Zahhak's dominion over the world became so absolute that for 1,000 years ultimate power rested in his hands alone. And thus began the age of Zahhak, the millennium of fear. In this 1,000-year reign, the entire world bent to his will. The ways of the wise and the prudent vanished into hiding. The desires of the demonic and the fiendish became reality. Arts of worth were scorned, while vile sorcery was honored and exalted. Truth and righteousness lived only in secrecy and shadow, and to speak openly of goodness was to invite severe retribution. The hand of the devils was outstretched for every wickedness, and to utter a word of virtue was impossible except in the deepest concealment. Then they brought forth the 2 pure daughters of Jamshid, trembling like willow leaves from their father's house. They were the noblest of all women of their time. One was called Shahrnaz, and the other Arnavaz. They were taken to Zahhak's court and delivered into the hands of that dragon-bodied king. Zahhak reared them with cunning and corrupt arts, teaching them distortion, malice, slaughter, pillage, and arson. He knew nothing and taught nothing but these ways of ruin.
And so, little by little, the world grew accustomed to the darkness. So deep did the night settle upon the land that every evening 2 young men, whether born of common blood or noble lineage, were taken from their homes and led toward the king's court. The cook would escort them into the royal hall under the guise of easing the king's suffering, according to that very prescription once spoken by the devil in the form of a learned physician. The 2 youths would perish by the cook's hand, and what remained of them was transformed into a meal, a grim offering meant to quiet the pain of the crowned dragon king. Among the righteous there lived 2 men, pure of heart and sound of mind, descended from noble stock. One was named Ermail, and the other Garmail. One day they sat together in grave discussion. They spoke of the king's tyranny, of the cruelty of his armies, and of that accursed knightly right. At last one of them said, "There is no path left to us unless we enter the king's kitchen ourselves. Perhaps from within a remedy may be found. Perhaps even one life may yet be saved." And so the 2 made their way into Zahhak's kitchen. They learned the craft of cooking until, quietly and in secrecy, the work of the kitchen fell into their hands.
Then came the night when the guards brought 2 more youths, trembling, their faces drained of hope, into that place of slaughter. The hearts of Ermail and Garmail burned with anguish, their eyes darkened with grief and restrained fury. They looked upon one another, and in that single glance shared both compassion for the victims and hatred for the injustice, without a word being spoken. They had no choice but to choose one.
That one they concealed and whispered to him, "Leave this place. Let your path lead to the plains and the mountains, not to cities or settled lands. Disappear." To conceal his absence, they took the brain of a sheep and mixed it with what was required, preparing from it the king's dreadful meal. And thus, month after month, from every pair of youths, one found deliverance. In time, the number of the saved reached 200 souls, while the secret of the 2 cooks remained hidden from all. They gave the rescued ones goats and sheep and sent them away to distant plains. It is said that the wandering tribes of later ages descended from these spared souls, those for whom the memory of cities and settlements still awakens bitterness in the heart.
And the customs of Zahhak were twisted and corrupt. Whenever he desired, he sent a brave man to an impossible battle against demons. And whenever the name of a pure and renowned maiden was spoken, heedless of law, tradition, or creed, he would seize her and cast her into his harem.
40 years remained until Zahhak's reign would end, and in those years God had decreed a fate for him that turned his sleep into nightmares. One night in the royal palace, he fell asleep beside Arnavaz and dreamed of 3 warriors in his hall. 2 were grown men, and the third was a young man, tall as a cypress and majestic as a king. The youth, bearing a mace with the head of an ox, fearlessly charged at Zahhak. He threw a halter around Zahhak's neck and dragged him out of the palace, racing toward the peak of Damavand. The tyrant Zahhak writhed in terror, groaning as though his liver had been torn apart. His cry shook the 100-columned palace, waking the women of the court. Arnavaz rushed to him and asked, "O king, what has happened? You lie asleep in your own home, yet you cry out so fearfully." Zahhak replied, 7 lands obey my command, and all people and beasts are loyal to my rule. Yet this secret is best kept hidden, for if you hear it, hope will leave your hearts. Arnavaz insisted, "It is our duty to hear it. Perhaps a solution can be found, for no problem is without remedy." At last, Zahhak recounted his terrifying dream. "Do not dismiss this vision. While your throne and crown are at their peak, you must seek a remedy. Summon the wise, the astrologers, and the magicians from every land. Let them interpret this dream and reveal whether this danger comes from humans or from demons." Her words took root in his heart. When dawn broke, he commanded the most knowledgeable and bold Mobads to be brought to his court. In secret, he revealed his dream to them and asked, "Tell me the truth. What is the fate of this crown and throne, even if it brings me humiliation?" The Mobads' lips went dry, their faces pale. They whispered among themselves, "If we speak the truth, we risk our lives. If we do not, death may come today." 3 days passed in silence. On the 4th day, Zahhak's fury flared. "Speak now," he demanded. "Either tell me the truth or burn alive upon the gallows." Among them was a Mobad named Zahhak. Though his heart trembled, he found courage and spoke, "No one escapes death. Before you, many kings came and went. They tasted joy and sorrow, then left the world to another. No chain can bind fate, not even yours." He continued, "After you, the throne will belong to one named Fereydun. He is not yet born, but his time will come. Born of a wise mother, he will grow like a fruitful tree. When he becomes a man, he will seize the ox mace and strike it upon your head." Zahhak asked, "Why does he bear grudge against me?" The Mobad replied, "You will slay his father, and the ox that belongs to him will also fall by your hand. From that vengeance, the ox mace will come into his grasp."
Hearing this, Zahhak fell from his throne, unconscious. When he awoke, he found neither peace, sleep, nor sustenance. From that day forward, daylight was as dark as night, and the night was full of dread. Both openly and in secret, he scoured the world in search of Fereydun.